Dude, you gotta go upstairs. I'll be right back.
Okay. This background is like that Old Spice ad that you see, where like the guy's holding the shampoo and then somebody reaches. Can I reach into your guys' screens and grab you guys?
Let's see if I can find a better one. Let's see. This one's okay. I kind of like this one. This one's cool.
This one's really the masking on that is really clean.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that one.
I wonder how much of an overlap there is between Skype and Microsoft Teams.
Right.
Back check at this point?
I don't know. My headphones kind of wreck it, unfortunately. But I'm not cool like you guys. Well, I guess Donovan doesn't have a space like I do. I don't have enough hair to fill in that area. Weird.
Yours are like all big. Mine are like not.
I suppose. Alright, let's get this stuff together. Hello out there. Domicile Artisan, how's it going? We're just getting set up here.
Hello, hello.
I'm probably going to be on mute for a lot of this. I don't know. Can you hear all that?
Uh-huh.
It's not too bad.
It's not too bad. Only the shrillest screams. And the cloppitiest flops. The flippitiest flops.
I don't understand what's going on.
It happens. It happens sometimes. All right, do we have it? Do you want to do intro? Do you want me to do the intro?
So, if I look this way, I'm looking over at him.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So how's it going?
When I have to look this way. Hello, how are you? Good to see you in this futuristic movie theater.
It's like Muppet Show.
Oh, speaking of Muppet Show, did you watch?
Yes.
Okay, we could talk about that too because I still want to know what you think because I have thoughts.
Did you see that, Alex?
We did not. We just saw not the most recent one anymore. The one with Jason Segel, where they try to get back their Muppet studio. That was fun. Yeah, the kids like that one. Is the Halloween one worth watching? Because
depends who you ask, apparently.
Yeah, it does.
All right.
Yeah, it does. Because I wanted to talk about that, whether or not you think it's worth watching. And your thoughts on it. We could talk about that tonight. My intro. It's time to take off your day pants and put on your geek pants. Welcome to the Making Geeks or something like that. I don't know. No? All right.
It's a little risque, but I mean, I'm down if that's what we're doing.
I was gonna be.
I need to change the background. I need to do something more tropical for that. I think, right?
Getting intimate with Wes one-on-one. Back when I was thinking about, what are we gonna do tonight if Sean's not here? It's like, take off your day pants, put on your geek pants. Time to get down.
You have a virtual
Wes.
Fireplace in the background that you can.
Yeah, exactly. You're about to see the side of Wes that you've never seen before.
Nice.
No,
Okay.
This isn't it.
No, this isn't the atmosphere motif.
There it is.
More festive.
There's the only one I can find with a little fireplace.
With the fireplace in the background.
We're just like midgets, though.
Yeah, I know. If we were like,
we're just very rich. This is a very big studio. A very, very big virtual studio.
I feel like I need food out in front of me because I'm preparing something. Because this is the total.
Like we're definitely midgets. Like this
children
cup
on a
is
plane.
the cup is as big as my head. Like this. Like it's like they're not even trying.
This background is brought to you by my YouTube ad revenue.
We chartered a private plane just for this podcast.
All of this, and we haven't even started yet.
Oh my gosh.
And you guys in the live chat, this is stuff you get for free that you don't get on the podcast.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
If there was a train background, we'd be going off the rails.
We've only been live for 4 minutes. All right.
Are you recording it?
Oh, it's being recorded.
Live.
Okay,
It's live.
So this gold content that we got going on right now.
Sean's gonna.
The thing is, this is really fascinating for everybody listening to the audio version. Every time we change the background, we switch order of seats. So now I'm in the front.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Oh, so I can't look across at you anymore.
No, you. Oh.
No, I got it. What in the world? So Wes, oh, you switched again.
I'm trying to. I don't understand.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
Now I have to look this way.
I have to look. Dude, you're throwing off my groove.
I'm trying to get you guys beside each other again. Okay. We'll just keep it this way. We're good. I'm not going to touch it again.
All right. Focus, children.
Quiet.
You know what? You can't talk to me like that.
High five.
Hello.
Oh, we can almost
Mine
high
only
five.
go down here.
What?
Oh, it's clipping your hand.
What is happening?
Automatic masking is clipping. It's clipping.
No, it's moving. Oh
so
my gosh. What is going on?
God.
We're having too much fun with the virtual backgrounds here on Skype. Thank you, Microsoft. Okay.
All right. Hold on.
So is this still the intro? Should I put on my geek pants, or can I?
No. I'm coming. It's time to. It's time. Hold on. What's up, internet? It's time to. It's time to. I'm trying to think of something like applicable to Muppet. It's time to.
It's time.
Hold on. All I've got is it's time to
going live. Welcome to Making Geeks Podcast, where we wear nerd pants.
Nerd pants.
Oh my God, we're killing Wes.
All right. It's time to help me do this. It's time to what? It's time to play the podcast, right?
Nice.
It's time to play the podcast. It's time to
dress up nice.
Put on pants. I don't know. You can't see us from down, from the chest down anyway. So what does it matter?
That's true.
It's time to play the podcast. It's time to
see. No, we're
going
to save it.
Makers on the Making Geeks podcast tonight. Dude. Should the second one be? It's time to play the podcast. It's time to.
You're gonna have to save this one, buddy. We're gonna have to save that one. It's not gonna happen.
Okay, fine. Am I dragging this out too long?
Yeah, I think so. People are seeing how the sausage is made. So
there we go. It's time to listen in. All right. We ready? We're going to do this?
Let's do it.
All right. It's time to play the podcast. It's time to listen in. It's time to meet the makers on the Making Geeks podcast. Tonight, there was a little too many syllables, but welcome to the Making Geeks podcast, the podcast for makers, families, and geeks.
Well done, sir.
Fantastic.
Not the smoothest of intros, but hi, guys. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Wait, that's not Sean. Who are you?
Who am I? Oh my God, who am I? I am not Sean. I am Alex from Super Make Something here as a replacement for Sean. We were looking for a fellow bearded person, and we were hoping that the audience listening wouldn't know the difference.
They can hear the scruffiness. You have the beard. It doesn't make a difference. Yeah. We have like a beard.
That's why my voice just rolls off of my face and into your ears, because there's no beard. to scruff it up.
Yeah, we have like a beard maker Rolodex that we use to go through and make sure that we have possible replacement hosts at any given point. So it's really handy.
So what's going on? How you guys been? What you been up to?
I've been doing well.
I've also been doing well. Halloween is over, which means Mariah Carey music is playing in every department store because there's another holiday coming up in December. So
I don't know if it's like ubiquitous and universal for every Lowe's and every Hobby Lobby, but Lowe's starts putting their Halloween stuff out in like the 1st of September, which is fine. It's great. That's enough prep time to be able to do the Halloween decorating thing. But then by the first week in October, they're already starting to clearance out the Halloween stuff and start to slowly bring in the Christmas stuff, so that by the time it's like a week or two before Halloween, all their Halloween stuff is already gone. And they've already, like, it's already been replaced by Christmas. Look, oh my gosh.
I had a similar experience at Target about 2 weeks ago. A Christmas tree appeared kind of in the back left corner of the store. And slowly since then, Christmas has been creeping its way to the front and taking over aisles one by one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to put it.
Hobby Lobby, it's its own beast because they started stocking Christmas stuff in July. So, you know, it's one of those things. Although, all of that said, people in my neighborhood have already started putting up Christmas lights and whatnot. And I don't know if it's like everything that's been going on or whether I am just broken or whatnot, but I am going to go totally overboard on decorating for Christmas this year because I'm like, why not? What do I have to lose? So let's do it. That's going to be my geekness this year, is going totally overboard on decorating for Christmas.
That's awesome.
What do I have to lose?
Overkill is underrated, man.
I know.
Has this happened in your neighborhood too, where I think people kind of are just investing in bigger pieces of tech, where they'll have the garage lasers and the RGB house lights, and then up until October there'll be spooky ghosts and everything is orange, and then the day after it switches over to snowmen and reindeer projected on the garage, and the lights become red and green, which I think is really efficient, right? Because then you'll really have to decorate once. And then if somebody makes up another holiday, you can just change the color scheme accordingly without any effort. So
we do have one family in our neighborhood that's like that, except with blow-up lawn ornaments. Okay. So it doesn't even matter if it's a major holiday. They have the blow-up lawn ornaments for them. And so they had all of a plethora of blow-up Halloween lawn ornaments on Halloween. Halloween night, they all deflated and turned into pumpkins, apparently, because November 1st, the morning as I was driving out of the neighborhood, big old turkeys and like the scene from, Peanuts Thanksgiving where they're wearing the pilgrim outfits. I'm like, dang,
whoa.
They are on top of this. They do not mess around when it comes to holiday-oriented blow-up lawn ornaments.
Wow.
That's impressive. Yeah. I've had my Christmas doormat out since last year, so now I might as well.
So you're good, is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right. I just wait, and we're good. It's only the day after Halloween is just 364 days before Halloween. So
a broken clock is right twice a day. So there
you go.
Oh man, what have you been up to, Alex? Your stories on Instagram all look fabulous. It looks like you've been up to some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. It's been exciting. So, kind of working on redoing my channel a little bit. So, for those that have seen my videos in the past, I've had a couple different categories of videos. So the project videos, which are kind of the long form ones, and then live streams and basics episodes, and something called minis. And I guess what I've noticed is just the way YouTube seems to work now, right? Everybody wants these really fast turnaround videos, especially for like things that are coming out on Kickstarter. Like the question is always like, oh, like, can you have my videos by next week? And the way that I had been trying to do everything was to kind of take those like products that I get and integrate them into a project. But because the turnaround time is too long, that hadn't really been working out for me. So before, I had these segments called minis, which were, like 2-minute episodes where I would try to do a little project without any talking. And I think I still am going to do those sporadically, but I think I'm also going to turn the mini segment more into product reviews or product previews, where they're, like short form, 3 to 4 minute videos, talk about something. And then I can get a review up quickly. And the first one of those just came out. That's the new Raspberry Pi 02W. It's the new computer by Raspberry Pi for all of your embedded maker projects. The thing is blazingly fast and just released about a week ago. And that was like the perfect kind of test case to try out this new format. And people seem to like it. So I don't know if, people are getting spoiled in terms of having like really quick content with shorts now and kind of TikTok videos. But that seems to be working out for me so far, I think. So I'm going to see where that goes. And I think, in the interim too, also trying to grow in a similar vein, maybe my Twitter and Instagram profile in that direction where, I kind of use those also for maybe tech previews to show off like kind of little things that I'm working on, in addition to, documenting my longer term builds. So we'll see kind of how that direction pivot goes maybe.
Nice. That's really interesting. Yeah, I was excited to see your Raspberry Pi video. I apparently missed the memo, or I fell off a list or something. I didn't get one. So I actually have one. I didn't get one early. I've got one now that I ordered from Adafruit.
Adafruit envelope, yeah.
Yes. So,
I was wondering what all that rustling was.
Yes. You're welcome. So I'm looking forward to diving into that.
I think you'll like it. It's in terms of performance. So I found, the Raspberry Pi 3B, like the big one.
Mm-hmm.
It is okay for browsing the internet. Maybe has a little bit of trouble doing YouTube related things. But the 02W is really, really close in terms of performance. So, could maybe be possible to use it for something like computer vision. I know Raspberry Pi just came out with their high quality camera a couple months back, which might be a really cool kind of like thing to pair with the 02W. The thing that everyone seems to be excited about is, of course, like little emulation consoles. So they always build like the zeros into little Game Boys or little Game Gears. And the speed for this one, I mean, for the size, it's incredible. I don't know how they always keep pulling it off to put, faster and faster chips into the same size package without everything just having a giant heat death. But hey, they're doing it. So props to them.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. I've got a couple projects that I might use it for, but it's not really going to take advantage of the smaller form factor. It would just use it just to say that I did use it. It's a like project that I had considered using like a full-size Raspberry Pi 3 or something on, but I guess it sounds like they're phasing those out, so it might not even be like practical to even do mini 3 videos anymore. I don't know. Maybe they're not. That's just the kind of feel I got for it.
Interesting. I know all kinds of chips everywhere have been very hard to find. So one of my things that I've been working on lately is to try to get my K40 laser back up and running. And that had previously been running off of a Pi 3. And it was, a little bit slow for kind of editing and sending files. So I tried to buy a Pi 4 and just could not find them anywhere for retail. So instead, I repurposed an old laptop that's been kind of lying under my bed for 7 years, and that's been working great. So good. I guess that's a good thing maybe about the chip shortage, is it forces you to find uses for older tech that you just have kind of collecting dust in your house and clearing up some space. But I don't know. It's been going pretty well. Also, the nice thing, I don't know if maybe the people watching this are aware, but so Raspberry Pi just runs Debian Linux that they kind of reskinned and repurposed and have all these tutorials for. But what they've also done is they've released the Raspberry Pi OS that can be installed on non-Raspberry Pi devices, so like old laptops, things like that. So you can get like the same experience but faster, and then you can use the little Raspberry Pi Zero as actually an interface board for sensors to get like the I/O daisy chained into the big computer. And I'm thinking in terms of projects like big robotics projects, that could open up a lot of avenues. Basically, just using that small $5 board as like kind of a general purpose data acquisition input-output board, but then having processing power of like the actual big, older computer that you're trying to find use for running on in the background. So maybe some interesting applications there.
It's pretty exciting. How about you, Donovan? You've been having some interesting Instagram posts lately. What have you been up to?
Yeah, I'm curious as to like which Instagram posts Alex was referring to when he said that I've been doing exciting things. Which
so
ones?
It looks like you have a new gig. Is there like construction related stuff?
Yes. So
Okay.
I got I guess you can call it a temporary job.
Okay.
Doing construction. Yeah. So I've been up in rafters and cutting boards and doing things that seem a lot more applicable to my shop and my YouTube channel and whatnot than, doing IT, which is what I was doing before. So I come home covered in sawdust every day, which isn't exactly a bad thing. But as long as I dust off before I come inside the door, then, it's all good.
Are you picking up any new kind of like best practices or tips from the work site or vice versa? Are you taking anything that, you've learned in the shop and applying it to the job site or?
That is a good question. Best practices. I will have to get back to you on that one. It's only been a couple days. So
Okay.
It's been mainly hauling boards and screwing up, OSB onto walls, to line out an attic area. So it's been good though. I've been having fun with it. I enjoy the process of building things, which is one of the reasons why I really like being a maker, because I love the process of like creating something. And so like construction and building houses and stuff like that isn't, too far off from that venue, although it seems like a almost completely different set of skills used for one than the other. Yeah, but that said, it's been work. It's been good. It hasn't given me the time to finish up my video that I was hoping to have out by this morning. But I'm gonna try and have that done by this weekend to hopefully get that out and see how my new format of my videos is gonna work out for my audience or potential audience. So
very nice. The pivot could be Zelda themed tiny houses, depending.
Yeah,
might be.
I took a picture. One of the pictures that I took in my Instagram stories is of the doghouse that is completely overrun by these like 7-foot high grass things. And it's so funny. I got so many responses that people are like, you need to take a sword to all that. Maybe you'll find some rubies. I was like, you're actually absolutely right. But yeah, I mean, if I had that doghouse in my backyard between the playhouse and the doghouse and other plans I have for like stuff I'm going to do, I'm like, I could have a whole amusement park in my backyard, start charging admission.
I would come to visit for sure.
Tiny homes. I have been encouraged to build more playhouses and not make that solely my thing, but make that more of a thing. Because with the success of that playhouse and with the plans that we have to build a Invader Zim playhouse in my brother's backyard, which is going to be just massive. It's going to be a tiny house. The thing is just huge. And if that does well, maybe playhouses will become a thing. I don't know. I don't decide these things, apparently.
That would be super cool. I guess, and I'm wondering, so I don't know if this is a trend or if the algorithm just like picked up something in my subconscious, but I feel like I've been getting a lot of tiny house recommendations on YouTube. Like, have you guys, so I guess two channels I watch sometime. There's Peter Streepole, I think. He's down in Southern Ohio. He just built a tiny house. And then I think clicking on that video and watching it just put me on some new rabbit hole in the algorithm. And now I'm getting all kinds of tiny houses. It does look nice.
Yeah, it's my, lately anyway, it's been my wife's go-to form of escape, is watching other people and how they live in tiny homes and whatnot. I don't know if we could do it. I would like to think that maybe we have the capacity to be able to do something like that. But when I really think about it, I'm like, there's 5 of us. Like, it would be so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were 4 of us that stayed in a 900 square foot house in Wyoming for just 3 months, and that was pretty tight. After coming from a 2,500 square foot, not including basement, house where we currently live in, that was an adjustment, especially being in the winter. Plus our dog, yeah, that was. It made for the adventure to be more memorable. But when we were out there last year around this time, but yeah,
I mean, if you were like single or if it was just you and a partner, much more compatible lifestyle to do something like that. And I think it'd be fantastic and fun. But when you have 3 little kids, oh my gosh, that dynamic completely changes. And that, you know, it's still a form of like escapism to be like, oh, that looks so cool. But the practical reality of it is, no, that would never happen.
I feel like deep down inside for me, I just fantasize about having this epic workshop. And like the tiny house would just be the excuse to be like, hey, let's build another structure on our property.
I know.
And it would slowly become like, what is this bandsaw doing in here? Why do you have 6 printers? And it's like, so, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like that scene in, what is it, Shrek 3, where he goes to meet the fairy godmother. And it's like in this little fantasy cottage, but then attached to the back of the cottage is this giant like shop. I was like, yeah, it'd be kind of like that.
Right, yeah. For the family, right?
Yeah.
This work table is for the family.
Yeah. But if I do start doing more playhouses and whatnot, I will definitely, I'm going to have to figure something out for a shop because my garage is not going to cut it to be able to scale to something like that. So yeah, we have the stuff like that in my feed, in our feeds all the time. So I get that. I did watch the trailer for Cowboy Bebop, and now every other video in my, for like recommended is all anime stuff, and I'm like, this isn't what I was. I just wanted the one thing. Why are you trying to show me more stuff?
Have you seen the original? Like, what are your
Oh
thoughts?
yeah, I love the original.
What are your thoughts on the style of the remake? I guess I remember, based on the second trailer, I think very good. I remember when that first teaser came out, everyone was kind of worried that the style and tone that they struck was like totally off, and I think then they kind of saved it with the trailer. But I'm really excited. It looks really good.
Yeah, I am so excited because I don't like a lot of anime, but there is particular animes that I just absolutely love. And so I always get excited at the possibility of adapting, like anime into live action, but I can't think of a single instance of it successfully being done to the point where I'm like, I love that. Most of the time it's like, oh, it was enjoyable. It was okay. It was all right. But it's never like amazing. I know trailers are not the final product, but just based on the trailers, I am so excited for it. So I'm right there with you.
I think at least anime movies, right, have a better track record than video game movies. So
I think they're kind of hand in hand. They go. But yeah, video game movies. I wish they would make a good video game movie. Maybe with Super Mario Brothers, they might break the mold. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know anymore.
And who's now also playing Garfield. Did you guys see that?
Oh my gosh.
He has such range, man.
Yeah, man. What an artist. Sorry, Chris. I know you're watching. I apologize.
Yeah. He hasn't been a Muppet yet, so he hasn't made it through all the rounds.
I am enjoying the new Jurassic Park movies though. Those are fun ones.
Yeah.
Sure, there's
and silence.
Oh no, I'm on myself by an island.
I like the first Jurassic World. The second one, there was a lot of cringy stuff. That it was like one of those types of movies that like I didn't intend to go in with it, but it was like very sparsely populated. I went in with a buddy of mine, and it ended up being just like Mystery Science 3000 with him. where we had like no audience around us to like disturb, so we were just like laughing at the most inopportune times when it wasn't supposed to be funny. You know what I mean? In different scenes, and we're just like groan-worthy, cringy stuff. But I don't know. It was interesting.
The actress in Jurassic World 2, though, is playing Faye Valentine in the new Cowboy Bebop movie.
Bryce Dallas Howard?
No, she was like the scientist that was accompanying the nerdy guy. Like she was younger.
Oh,
yes.
Edgy. Yes. Okay, yeah. I didn't even make that connection.
I think that's the only thing I've seen her in. I'm not sure, but I guess spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen Jurassic World 2. Jurassic World 3, I guess the dinos are loose in the suburbs now.
Uh-oh.
So that could be like an exciting zombie kind of dinosaur thing, right? Like that could be cool.
So like Jurassic Park 3?
What happened?
And didn't Jurassic Park 2 have that? Didn't the T-Rex get loose in LA or something?
I thought that was 3 that they... Oh, no, yeah, it was 2. No? I don't know.
God, we've been tricked in watching the same trilogy just over again. Oh, no.
It's all right. Wes is looking it up. He'll have our answer.
No, I keep getting sound effects from other things.
Speaking of things and stuff, I had a question for... Speaking of Muppets, let's backtrack a little bit here. Because we can do that. It's our own podcast. It's our podcast. We make the rules. Speaking of Muppets... last week, I had a question for Wes on whether or not he had seen the newly released Muppets Haunted Mansion, a combination of two things that I absolutely love. The original Haunted Mansion and Muppets came together. They made a movie. I watched it. And I would really like to know what Wes thinks.
So I also quite adore Muppet stuff. And I was excited to see it. And overall, I was expecting to like it less than I did, based on your comment.
So I spoiled you for it? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I went in with lesser expectations and I ended up liking it more than I would have. I don't know.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I don't know really. There's certain parts that I really liked and certain parts that I didn't. I guess I can just start with the stuff I didn't. Maybe it's the same things you had problems with. So, like, it's clear that they either the resources that the amount of money they have to pay the Muppet actors is like maybe exorbitant, that I don't really realize how expensive it is. I can't assume that they're more expensive than like.
When you say Muppet actors, you mean the puppeteers or
yes.
the actors?
No,
Okay.
not the cameos, but just like the actual, Kermit and Fozzie and all the different people, or all the different Muppets. Like, because there was no sequence where all of, or even a lot of Muppets were in the same frame together that was not green screened, clearly. And so it was like a huge, it was like they used the minimal amount of money possible to stretch it super thin, and they sort of joked on some of it in one point, because there are two characters that say like, we wish we'd have been in the movie more, but there was no budget for us. They said that in the movie, which is that pointing out that they realize that it's low budget and to just roll with it, or I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure how to interpret that. If they were okay with it, or if they were busting on them, like the higher ups not giving them more budget to do more, because there was not really an ensemble feel like Muppet Christmas Carol, which is what I was hoping for. Like, I love that's probably my favorite Muppet thing besides the first movie. That and Christmas Carol are like always fighting for first place for me, just because the
Treasure Island is not in.
I don't care for that one as much.
Arena?
No.
Really?
I just
Tim
love
Curry just doesn't do it for you, huh?
I just love the ensemble nature of it. Like, even like the Muppets, the Muppet Show, like the TV show, there was always that ensemble. And here they sort of explained away why they didn't have to be together, because a lot of them were like, astral projections or ghosts or whatever. So it's clearly a green screen character that they can superimpose. And it just made it kind of feel cheap to me. I don't know. And like, subtracting that, a lot of the jokes, like they had a lot of like modern, like fourth wall breaking, modern kind of jokes, which I enjoyed because I also enjoyed Muppets Now, which is like the more recent little series they had, and they kind of leaned into that a little bit too heavy at parts, but overall, like they had Rolf, who was in the special. Spoiler alert: he hadn't been in anything. He wasn't in a single episode of the Muppets Now, which was super disappointing, and I was glad to see him. And also Rizzo, pretty sure it was Rizzo, was in this, and he hasn't been in anything in like years and years and years since the previous voice for Kermit the Frog was Steve Whitmire. He also did the voice for Rizzo, and when he got fired, they lost both of those voices for a while until they replaced, obviously, Kermit. But Rizzo, the rat, is like one of my favorite characters, and I was happy to see a couple of rats in this. So, I don't know. What did you think, Donovan, without giving too much away?
So, yeah, not that, I mean, if you know anything about the Haunted Mansion, it's basically like a Muppet Haunted Mansion. So if you know the story of the Haunted Mansion, there's nothing you could spoil in talking about this. But like from the opening scene where Gonzo and Rizzo are in the cart.
Not Rizzo.
Gonzo and
Pepe.
Yes, Pepe. Yes, the prawn. Sorry. Gonzo and Pepe the prawn were in the cart. That immediately set the tone for me for the whole movie, and I think that opening scene kind of ruined it for me. Because one of the things about kind of behind the scenes of Muppeteers and the people that do the Muppets is that they are trained in how to move their hands and how to move the character and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that they're trained to do is to attack the syllables. So if you watch anything Muppet or Sesame Street related, whenever they talk, they don't just sit there and like open and close their mouth as they're talking. What they do is that they bob their head forward and they attack the syllables. So when you're talking, there's movement, there's life, there's animation to it rather than just sitting here doing this. The problem with the opening scene in the whole opening scene is Gonzo is sitting there
I did see that.
the
I
whole
did notice
time and just doing this. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, it pulled me out of the experience so badly that I was like, is something wrong? Like, I don't understand what is happening here. This is not the Muppets. It's like somebody who had gotten a hold of the Muppets and then wanted to make a Muppet movie, but then did everything on green screen because it was one person like, you know, trying to do all the characters, and that is what the entire movie felt like.
I definitely noticed at the first scene how we were talking about it because it felt like amateur hour, like for that one character. There was no personality. It was just like going through the motions kind of feel. But I didn't get that feeling throughout the whole thing. Maybe I just sort of started to not notice it as much, but I definitely did notice it at the beginning.
Yeah, and admittedly it got a little better throughout the rest of the movie, but like the appeal and the beauty of the Muppets is the fact that when you have an ensemble and when you have that dichotomy of having a real person and a Muppet, they play off each other. And the appeal of the Muppets and why it is so fun to watch the Muppets is like the characters playing off of each other and then the people and the Muppets playing off of each other. And it's such a subtle thing that you don't pick up on unless you see something like this, where even in the beginning where you had Will Forte being Will Forte, is that his name? The caregiver.
Who's that guy?
Not Will Forte. Will Arnett.
Will Arnett, yes, thank you.
Will Arnett. Yeah, Will Arnett being the caretaker to the mansion. There were scenes in there that were completely green screened. His eye line was not to the characters, and all of it just broke me out of the experience that I typically have with anything Muppets, because I adore the Muppets. I love the Muppets. And so it's like it was hard to watch. For me, being such a fan of the Muppets, it was hard to watch. If I wasn't such a big fan of the Muppets, maybe I probably would have liked it a lot better, but I just didn't.
Was this the first Disney Plus go at the Muppets, or have they previously made Muppets?
It's the second thing.
Yeah.
They kind of, over COVID, I don't know what the exact filming schedule, I think it impacted it a lot, but they basically came up with like this, it felt like someone was in a boardroom and came up with this quick concept, a quick pitch for like a Muppet show, and they were able to lean on the feel that everybody was doing the virtual like meeting stuff, and it felt like they took that concept and applied it directly to the Muppets. And saying like, oh, we don't have to have them all together. We can edit it in such a way that it looks like they're like they're like zooming each other, and like there's jokes that they wrote to make fun of that new kind of experience that we were all having.
Bohemian Rhapsody. If you haven't seen Bohemian Rhapsody, it plays off that so well.
Yeah,
just so well.
Yeah. And it mostly worked, but yeah, there was. We won't talk about Muppets anymore for those in the audience that don't really care. And also,
I'm sorry,
we have Alex here who is just like, I don't know.
No, that's good.
He hadn't seen it.
I'm just thinking to myself, like, on green screen, superimposed into an environment, I wouldn't know nothing about this sitting in a futuristic spaceship movie theater.
That's right.
See, like, the leniency I have is the fact that it's like, I understand the limitations that a lot of these people were probably trying to work through and how they still wanted to be able to work on something. But in the end, like, Muppets is the one medium where it's like you can't do it solo on a green screen. Like, it just doesn't have that magic that's typically there with anything Muppets. And so it's I did not like it.
Yeah, it seems to work well for animation, right? Because I think Luca was produced entirely like during COVID with remote work. I think I saw some.
So was Raya. Raya was completely done remote. Yeah, and those two movies were just great.
Yeah.
So it's possible in certain mediums, but another.
Wrong medium, yeah.
Yeah, it's like trying to do improv comedy night over Skype. It just it'd probably still be funny at parts, but at the experience it's not the same. So now that we talked about that,
yeah. I don't think I ever talked about what I was doing this past week.
What have you been up to? You said you were good.
Yeah, I'm good, but I didn't really say what I was doing. Anyway.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna have like a lot of laser cut ornament orders coming in. So I had posted on my Instagram a picture of this little camper model that I created.
I saw that. It looked really cool.
Thanks. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but it's got like a couple layers to it, and it's made with maple plywood, finished maple plywood, which has like a nice grain. It's kind of hard to see on camera here, but and then you can engrave the back and whatnot. And so this is a camper that has a very it's very niche. It's called a trail manor, and it's basically like a transformer camper, which Donovan experienced some of when he was here.
Yes, I did.
And it can collapse down into it's like a foldable camper that is like two parallelograms that can like move, and they take up the space of this lower part that I'm showing on camera. These two parts on the top fold in, and they kind of it's like a big transformer. And so it has a very dedicated fan base on Facebook on this one group I'm in, and I just posted there like, hey, just gauging interest to see if anybody would be interested, and I got like 60 responses.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, in like less than 24 hours.
Oh man, and are you doing this all with your Glowforge, or is this K40? Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be the true test for the Glowforge to see what it can do.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I ordered a bunch of various woods from the Glowforge site, which I know is not the cheapest, but I'm trying to use all the Glowforge things to have like a very comprehensive kind of review and feel of it, like once I get to that point in a video, to say I've put it through the paces of doing this and show the stuff that I made and talk about how I liked or didn't like the different tools and whatnot. And so far it's been mostly good. They put a lot of the features within the Glowforge like web app behind a paywall, which is sort of annoying. So you can't like do different things, including flipping designs and like just basic, what I would consider basic things. They have that behind like a $50 a month or like $250 a year paywall.
Wow, that's a lot considering the price of the unit already. I remember that was Sean's complaint in his Glowforge review, that kind of like really basic features were just arbitrarily behind this paywall. Plus, it's all online, right? So sometimes if you actually cut anything, you have to send it to the cloud and then wait 10 minutes for anything to process. So
Yeah, luckily the time. Granted, these are not very complex files that I'm like sending as far as like vector content. The weight hasn't really been an issue for me yet. Luckily, that may change once they get more complicated stuff on there. But yeah, it's just kind of just from a feature standpoint, it's sort of annoying, but it's nothing that you can't fix with whatever design software as long as you plan for it ahead of time. But overall, it's been pretty good. Just looking forward to kind of leaning into that a little heavier and seeing what I could do.
How is the venting solution on the Glowforge? I know for the K40, that's the biggest thing for me. Is the first upgrade that I did was just to try to install like a new venting system, just because
Sure.
the first time I used it, I basically flooded my basement with smoke.
Yep.
But the smell is still there, and then you see some of these like really nicely enclosed units online, and they have a fan and they have an air filter. Like, does that make it worth the price of admission, or do you still feel like, I don't know, if you hacked around on the K40 enough, you could probably get something similar?
So the difference I've seen so far, so on my K40, the first thing I did was replace the fan, like the stock fan. I put a fan at the end of the exhaust hose, like a bilge pump fan or something you get on Amazon. It's like $40 or whatever. That worked really well. But I'm with you as far as like a lot of the smell and stuff would escape the unit because it's not sealed at all. Like there's no cavity in there that's sealed. There's holes in weird places, around the unit. And granted, I cut the bottom out of mine in order to put a clearance for a rotary.
But there's still a hole to the bottom of the table.
There is.
So regardless. So
Yes.
yeah.
And it's just, there's no sealing or anything of the lid when you close it. The Glowforge, it's almost like when you open it, it's like a refrigerator to me. Like where it has like that it doesn't necessarily have a vacuum seal, but it feels like it. Like you can tell that it's like a closed system. I'm not sure how they're able to. Granted, there has to be some sort of air input in order to get the fan to work, or else it's like sucking through a straw with the end closed, right?
Right.
But the fan in there that's within the unit is pretty powerful. And like if you're just like looking into the unit, like you can see a lot more smoke getting like evacuated than the K40. The K40 is somewhat, even with the upgraded quote unquote fan, it's not that great. This one you can see it looks like a little tornado in there, like sucking the stuff out. So I'm not sure what the CPM, is that right? Rating of the fan is. And it's also not at the end of the hose, it's at the beginning. So everything is self-contained within the Glowforge, including the cooling system, which is another interesting thing. Yeah. Now, granted, mine's inside, so it's a little bit different experience than Sean, who had his unit in the garage. So his is more susceptible to like temperature fluctuations outside. Mine's a little bit more controlled, even though I'm in the basement that's not air conditioned. It's obviously more stable than his. And from an evacuation standpoint, I've been pretty impressed with it. You can get the additional, if you don't have a way to evacuate it, like you can get an air filter. It's another $1,000 though for it to actually, like, if you don't have a solution to actually have the stuff go outside. And I've heard good things about that. I don't have any personal experience with it, but judging from the well-engineered like default, I can only expect good things. It's pretty impressive so far.
Very cool. Yeah, the one thing that I'm a little bit scared to do on my K40 is, I mean, wood is still okay. You're like, it's wood.
Acrylic or leather?
Acrylic, yeah. Acrylic
Yeah.
leather. I'm really scared.
Yeah, acrylic will stink up my entire house for like 3 days. With it vented as best as I can. Granted, I have a hole in the bottom of the K40. I understand that. But I can't expect it to be that much better. I don't know.
Doesn't leather just smell like fried hamburgers anyway?
I don't know.
No?
Maybe I don't know. I don't think so. I think hamburgers smell better, but yeah, that's my experience this week.
That's cool. So we've been busy, all of us.
Yes.
Well, good. I'm good.
Has there been any free time? Have you guys been playing anything fun? Or anything worth mentioning?
Been playing Metroid Dread still. I am kind of delaying beating it just because I'm enjoying finding all the things typically I'm not a 100% completionist in a game when they're like super crazy, like Assassin's Creed, like the more modern ones. They have the most crazy collectibles in that game, and it's just like I don't have, or even like Breath of the Wild, I don't have time to find all the damn seeds. I'm sorry, 900 seeds. Kudos to you, Nicole, from When Geeks Craft. I know she did that. I don't have the interest in doing that. Metroid, it doesn't seem to be as intense as that, and it's a little more forgiving. There are a lot of things to find, a lot of cool secrets and stuff, but it doesn't seem to be that much of an investment in time. So I'm just I'm taking my time, exploring things, not worrying about getting like a speed run or anything like that. So trying to get my $60 worth out of it. Mm-hmm. But I'm definitely enjoying it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've been playing that too. Right now, I feel like the game has really good balance, where at the beginning it's pretty good at guiding you through, and then just kind of as you later on in the game explore more areas and get more abilities, I feel like it really has you running around the map more and really needing to kind of plan your way. And I'm really liking that, how the progression and difficulty seems like really well thought out and really well designed, that it's always interesting and makes you want to explore more, and keep going. Because I know some games, I know for me personally, like the Final Fantasy games had these problems. Like if you grind and you become super powerful, then all of a sudden, if you do that too early, the game just becomes boring, and you kind of lose interest. So I'm really liking the way that it's balanced. So hoping to beat it sometime soon.
Yeah.
That being said, yeah. Been waiting 15 years, right, for a 2D Metroid. So
19. Yeah, exactly.
19. Okay.
Yeah. Not that I'm counting, but the boss, I would say the bosses, several of the boss battles, like you have to be okay with dying 20 or 30 times, at least in my experience. Luckily, the load times aren't that bad, but it can be frustrating because a lot of the bosses have like several layers of progression. Like I can barely get through the first, like there's like 3 stages of the boss or whatever. It took me so long to get through the first stage of his progression, and I'm like, I burned through 15 lives or 20 lives. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna be able to do this. But eventually you do kind of get like a hang of it, but sometimes it's pretty brutal, for sure.
Dark Souls brutal or just general brutal?
I don't know if it's quite Dark Souls level.
No, you don't have as much riding on it like Dark Souls. Like it's not like you lose the entire game by dying, but the save points are pretty forgiving in this game. Like there's a lot of them, so you're not really backtracking through a lot of stuff to get back to where you were. Luckily, but they're pretty tough. As long as you pay attention to a lot of the sequences of how the bosses fight and like what things they're going to do, you're mostly there, but there's still, I think, for some of them, a variable of like randomness that can be infuriating, especially when you're up at like 2:00 in the morning, like, oh, why can't I do this? And the next morning, you're like able to do it within 5 minutes. That's what happened to me.
So I've had this recently with the Emmy spawns, like the robot kind of mid bosses that you run into. Every time I walk into a zone, they will spawn, and I think it's random, but maybe it's not. But they will basically be like right next to me, and I have to go hide for a good 3-4 minutes until they finally leave the area, and I can finally move somewhere. So that's been a little bit frustrating for me, but I don't think it's necessarily poor level design. I think I just have bad luck. So.
I think as you progress those encounters, I think they're intending for you to run and traverse a lot faster or more efficiently to try to stay ahead of them necessarily instead of let them get ahead of you. That's the kind of feel I got. And eventually you will get a little bit better. Like when they finally, if they do capture you, there's like a little mini cutscene thing, or you can interrupt. There's 2 chances to interrupt. And you do get a little bit better, but it's still somewhat random. But when you do pull it off, they're like stunned for like 5 seconds, and you're like, ah! You start running away for dear life.
There was one day right after I had gotten the game, maybe like a week or so in, where like that day I was just timing it perfectly, and I was just pairing them, and it was great. And I thought, oh, okay, like I've got this unlocked. And then the problem is I always stop playing for a week and then continue playing the weekend. Mm-hmm. Then I forget what buttons correspond to all of my abilities because there's so many.
For the
first 15 minutes, I start flailing. Sure. But I've never gotten that timing down again where I can just parry the Emmys. So, and since then, all I've been doing is just hiding.
Yeah.
Until they finally leave the area. And
it sucks because once you figure out one, there's like 5 or 6 different ones. Once you figure out one, the next one has a different timing sequence. And there's another one that you fight that happens to go in water. And if you fight him in water, spoiler alert, the timing is different than if he's above water. It's like slower, and it's like so annoying.
Is it the blue one? I'm currently on the blue one.
I don't remember. I think so, but I'm not sure. You'll know it when you get there. They're just like, bloop, you're underwater, and you're like running slower. So it's like everything's in slow motion except him. He's moving at normal speed. So you're like, oh my God. But yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Reminds me of the game Alien. Was it Alien Isolation? I think that came out a couple years back, where it was like survival horror based on the Alien franchise.
Mm-hmm.
But all you could do essentially was hide from the alien because you had no weapons. But it had some kind of learning algorithm running on in the background where if it, like, the game remembered if you always hide in lockers, so then it would like start looking for you in lockers because it kind of figured out your play style, and you had to keep adapting, and it was horribly stressful.
Yeah.
Like PT, like if you guys remember that game on like PlayStation 4, and I just stopped playing. I was too scared. I couldn't do it.
my heart was beating at several moments when I first started playing this game. Like, I'm like, how dreadful could it be? Metro Dread. It gets your heart beating pretty quickly. You're like, oh man, this is working. This is pretty good game design. Highly recommended for sure.
Absolutely.
No, to answer your question.
No time for games.
Although I did buy my son the Spider-Man game for the PS4.
Nice.
Because several weeks ago I got a PS4 because I wanted to play God of War. Because I have all these God of War projects that I want to do, and I've never played the game, which I'm notorious for doing stuff for like movies or TV shows that I haven't seen or games I haven't played. So I'm like, oh well, I need to fix that. So I was able to find a decently priced PS4, and I got God of War, so I played that for like 5 minutes. I don't think I've left the training area in the beginning yet in that game. But I got my son Spider-Man, which is an amazing game. So I'm just living vicariously through him as he plays his way through playing Spider-Man. It's the Spider-Man game I wish I had.
That game were amazing. Just the open world. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So question then. So what inspired you to do a God of War build? I guess not having played God of War. So I mean, your axe turned out fantastic. It was amazing. For anyone that hasn't seen it, should definitely check it out.
Yeah,
so,
well, it is the axe. Like
my
neighbor built a fire pit in his backyard, and about the same time, my wife and I found one of those kind of like pseudo metal fireplace that you can like set in your back because it was on clearance, and we're like, hey, we would like a fireplace in the back, cook marshmallows, burn off some scraps, that I got in the shop, things like that. And so we both had our fire pits in the backyard about the same time. Well, he would constantly come over and ask to borrow like my saws so he could like cut up firewood. And I let him borrow my saws and whatnot. So he's over there with like Japanese pole saws trying to like cut up, kindling for his fire pit. And one day I came home and there was an axe literally leaning against my front door. I'm like, what the heck? And so there was a little note on it that was like, hey neighbor, I got this as a thank you for letting me, borrow your, and I also gave him wood, for letting me borrow your saws and borrow your wood. Now we don't ever have to not have kindling ever again. And I'm like, wow, this is great. It's a boring axe. How can I make this cooler? Because my brain just works like that, where I look at a thing, I'm like, how do I make it unique? And so, I had seen clips from the God of War, and I've watched builds of the Leviathan before, and so I was like, oh, I'll just make the Leviathan. I'm like 4 years late in terms of like the hype around people wanting to watch videos of people making the Leviathan axe. But that's what started it. And after I made the Leviathan axe, I did more research on the game, and then I found the murals in the game, which are just fantastic. And I was like, I want to continue this trend. And so I worked with Aaron from SketchUp, and he designed a tool cabinet that is based on the murals, like carved exactly like the murals. And you open up the doors, and instead of like the carvings of the Norse god stories, it would be carvings of me and my kids building stuff together. But it would still be that gold and silver and red leaf foil, recessed carvings and whatnot. And then the back would be, where all my hand tools go. I had to put a pause in that because my YouTube videos were not performing well enough to bring money in to afford, more projects. And so I do have, they're in the pipeline, but they're waiting until I can start getting views on my videos again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's really cool. I mean, the build for the axe was, looked gorgeous at the end, so it was fantastic.
It is so cool. Like when you get to be my age, because I'm dating myself, but when you get to be older and you have kids and you have a family and, your life is just consumed by other things, like there's not a lot that you get giddy about. That like childlike sense of giddy wonder and excitement and cause like that feeling just kind of fades away. And you see it in your kids because they experience it all the time. And it's so cool. But that being said, like I still get so giddy making things and like when things work out. And to this day, like even the project is done. My Zelda table from like 2 years ago is done, all that other kind of stuff. But every night when I go into my shop and I turn off the lights and there's still stuff glowing on the walls and glowing on the table in front of me, I still get that giddy feeling. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. So I love it. I think it's great. It makes me happy. That's why I am like desperately, trying to hold on to this sense of like childlike wonder and want to continue to be a maker. So that's why I haven't given up yet, because it still makes me happy.
That's awesome. I mean, that's the perfect attitude to have, right? You have to find something that excites you, and that's why, I think that's why you have to keep making stuff. Just to
The trick is trying to find out how to make money from it. That's the trick. But
I guess I don't know. I have noticed that too, though, in terms of YouTube. It seems, I don't know, again, if something has changed on the back end or with the new features that, people are finding on the platform for short form content. But I too, I'm kind of feeling that it's harder to get views than it used to be. And I don't know if the YouTube scene has just exploded and there's so many more people on the platform, like fighting for attention, or if it's something else. But I've certainly noticed a dip as well, or at least compared to what it used to be.
Yeah, even Peter Brown did a couple posts where he said he was mentioning he had noticed a dip in a lot of views as well, and like people like unsubscribing at a higher rate than normal and stuff.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm curious usually the holiday season I get like a big uptick in like ad revenue. I think everybody generally does, just as the ads are worth more. But I'm just curious to see how that plays out too. Because like I had a good surge last holiday season, and then it went into a dip in the spring, and it never recovered. It seemed like the dip went through the summer, and it's still kind of lingering. So I don't know.
Similar experience. Yeah. So the winter was a high point for me, and then it kind of tailed off a little bit. So.
Weird. We'll figure it out, and I think it will be a crime if Donovan stops making videos. So even if I have to start funding some of his projects, I don't know. I need to see some of these come to fruition. Maybe we can do some GoFundMes or something. I don't know. They have to exist.
My next video that's coming out, I'm really hoping that it performs well. I am. It's not like a complete 180 from the tone and in whatnot from my previous videos, but just with everything going on with my channel, I'm like I need to do some. So I hired a content manager, and stuff is going to change.
Nice! Wow! Congratulations. Okay, yeah. Excellent. So I remember too. You did the Maker Challenge, right? The 30 days of making. I think that's what killed it. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I loved doing it. It was a great experience. I walked away from that.
It was awesome for me to see new videos from you basically every day. I mean, I'm sure it was killing you on your side to try to, produce something every day, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. And I enjoyed the process, and I'm very proud of those 30 videos. I think they're great, but I'm very biased in that regard. but yeah, it's funny because it's like I lost my job right before that because I got riffed because in Oklahoma in the oil industry it ebbs and flows, and so it was the third time that I had gotten riffed from a job, and it just seemed like the perfect opportunity to go full time with this. Sure. Because I had a lot of momentum on my channel. Like my channel was doing very well. Like it could sustain me if I just did this full time. But then we did that 30-day challenge, and oh my gosh, all that momentum just died, and I haven't been able to recover.
And that's kind of the scary thing for me too. It really seems like YouTube, at least at the moment, is really favoring momentum. Like I had a lot of videos that were kind of older that were the, quote unquote evergreen content where it was kind of perpetual interest. But then I saw some kind of new makers join YouTube, and they immediately skyrocketed to 100,000, 200,000. And it seemed to me that the way they did it was like for the first, 3 months or so, they were so consistent where they had all these videos pre-produced, and then they just released them week after week after week after week. And that seems to have worked, but I guess that's, kind of worrying for me, just because my channel doesn't operate like that, because, it's a side gig, and, I kind of do it as time permits and as I find things that are interesting. But I'm really hoping that that's not how the new trend is going to go, because I could see that, turning out really badly for kind of smaller YouTubers and content creators.
Sure.
That do take time with their videos. So yeah, fingers crossed. I don't know. And then I've also tried out shorts. That didn't work very well for me. So
yeah, we tried to mix that in with the 30-day stuff, like, because that was like the new hotness at the time. Like, okay, we'll do, a smattering of shorts sprinkled in. Didn't matter. Oh.
Then I've seen. Did you guys see that William Osmond video? A month ago. So I don't know if you've talked about it on previous episodes. But
Are you talking about the one from like a week ago?
Yeah, where he was saying, he's afraid to upload and he's afraid to change anything. I guess for him it was more that, the disparaging comments that he was getting. Mm-hmm. But, I guess from me, who has kind of a smaller channel, it feels that similar thing with the YouTube algorithm. Like, you don't want to upload anything until you're like super sure it'll do well and keep that momentum going. And it's just like, ugh, like it's so stressful. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm showing my age, but like back in the day, like
right?
So,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we're just getting old.
I think maybe that's what it is. We're not enough of a character on our videos like
Maybe.
some other.
Gosh, yeah.
I mean, it seems like a lot of channels are leaning into that a lot more. Either new channels or existing channels. They seem to be. Some of them ended up being like caricatures of a prior self or something. Yeah, especially with the thumbnails. Yeah. But
a YouTuber face with the
yeah
uh-huh
yep.
I feel like that's always been there.
It
Now I'm noticing it a lot more now.
Yeah, we knock it, but like I have YouTube up in another window right now, and
so
there's
many.
Evan and Caitlin doing the thing, 500,000 views, so we knock it, but apparently it's working.
So, so I never used to put my face in thumbnails, and I tried it with my latest project video, which was the machine learning time-lapse video. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if there's an interest in machine learning or if it's the face, but the uptick from that video compared to the previous uploads was significant. So maybe it's all about you.
Faces always get more clicks. So that's like an unspoken rule of thumbnails on YouTube, is you always put your face in the thumbnail.
All right.
Yep.
Look out, world.
Oh, no.
Speaking of AI stuff, your machine learning, like, video stuff that you were doing for a while there was really cool. Like, would you want to explain, like, kind of how you did some of that or what programs you used, or... Because I'm sort of interested in it, but I don't really know where to start.
Sure. So I guess I had kind of two machine learning projects that I was playing with. So the first one was kind of a riff on resin lapse that people might be familiar with from Uncle Jesse and Andrew Sink, where with resin printers, the build plate moves up and down, and it's really hard to take these cool Octoprint style time lapses. And because the build plate doesn't move consistently up. But in these resin lapse time lapses, what you'll have is you have this build plate, and it'll look like the model is being pulled out of this resin vat, just in one continuous motion. And the way that Uncle Jesse and Andrew Sink figured it out is this is brilliant. So with the resin printer, the way it works is it exposes a layer of resin through an LCD screen to UV light, and then it'll harden those pixels that it's not masking off. But what you can use that for is because that UV light spills out of the entire enclosure, if you take a photoresistor that changes resistance when it's hit with UV light and you attach that to a camera trigger port, you can actually force your camera to take a picture. So what they did is they basically kind of wired this resistor into their camera port, and then every time a layer would get exposed, it would take a picture, and then there would be enough of a delay between when the camera finished processing that picture where the light would turn off and the thing would move back up and then come back down, and then another layer would get exposed. And what that would end up with is you would basically have a sequence of images where a photo was always taken when the current part of the model that was on the build plate was being exposed. So then as a consequence, it basically just grew upward over time, and it looked really cool. The problem with that was that it only works for Canon cameras, and I don't have Canon cameras. So I thought, what is a different way that I can do this that would work for any camera, but would still get the same effect? And then that's where kind of machine learning came into play. So the first thing I thought of, okay, if I basically have like this marker on the printer somewhere that's moving that I can track, and I can process the images to basically just as the print is going, a camera randomly takes photos. But then if I can process the images to find the circle location and then rearrange those in the correct order, then it would get a similar effect where it looks like it's being pulled up. But the problem is that, especially for these newer printers, the build time is incredibly fast. So like these mono LCD printers, I mean, the layer exposure time is, a second or something like that. And if you were shooting that fast with your camera, there's a potential that, it could overheat maybe. So then the trick would be that, okay, you have all these photos in order, but you might miss some frames. So even if you just sequence them right, it would look choppy. And that's where machine learning came in. So basically what that project used machine learning for was it looked for gaps in the vertical position of that marker. And then if the gap was larger than a certain distance, it would basically use machine learning to fill in those frames and basically artificially generate those frames to make it look like it was smooth. And it turned out really well. So the program that I used for this was a program called what was it called? I think it was called Dane or Rife. It was something intermediate flow estimation, and basically what that did is it basically used machine learning to find two photos, and what it was developed for was to create slow motion video footage from standard motion video that was just captured at standard frame rates. But then by modifying the code a little bit, and instead of having it work on just single video sequences, using kind of neighboring images, I was able to create that effect. So that was kind of the big machine learning project, and I was really excited about that one because it kind of gets people into computing, and a lot of people are excited about it when they have the code. I still owe a lot of people on the internet documentation and instructions for the code, which I still have to do, but hopefully that's gonna come out soon. So stay tuned for that one.
That is insane.
So
I'm just like.
I guess I was a little bit worried about that one because it's not like a typical maker project. It's more like a programming project. So I wasn't really quite sure like how that would be received. But it was encouraging that, a lot of people did seem to be interested in it. So I'm hoping, I guess with my videos, my hope is that if I show somebody something in a video, they'll at least be interested in a part of the video enough to maybe check out that portion of the code or to go look, that topic up online, maybe a little bit further. And maybe that'll inspire them to go and, learn more about programming and machine learning. So on that front, I think just based on the feedback that I've gotten, it's been successful. So that's always been rewarding and exciting. I guess, at the end of the day, I guess that's all I can. That's the most I could hope for, and that's all I can ask for. So
Well, weren't you also doing some tests where you were like superimposing your face onto things?
Yeah. So there's another paper that was written by a group in Italy to do deepfake videos off of a single frame. What you could do is you could basically record yourself saying something, or at least having your face animate, and then what it would do is it would take that frame and kind of using a similar, similar application sort of to the flow estimation. It would basically take the still frame of a famous figure, like for example, like if you wanted to have a deep fake of George Washington or Abraham Lincoln or something like that, it would basically warp that still image accordingly based on the motions that you were doing in the video. And I actually posted about this on Instagram for the YouTuber face. So there's this famous, I think, like Dutch kind of like painting where the guy is making the classic YouTuber face. I'm sure you guys have seen it, where like his lips are really pursed and his eyes are bugging out. And I basically made a deep fake of myself like animating him and making his head turn like for the ultimate YouTuber face. So I'm waiting for YouTube to come out with animated GIF thumbnails, and I think that's just going to be like my default animated GIF thumbnail for every video from here on out. So
That's awesome. Some of them were super disturbing, but I couldn't look away. It was like watching a car accident, like a NASCAR accident or something.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. So the at least for now, that method is really sensitive to your starting pose of your face. So like when you kind of do the pre-processing stuff, you want to make sure that kind of the position of your face and the expression that you're making is fairly close to the frame that you're trying to match. Because the machine learning algorithm will try to like identify features on your face and then warp the other image accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
But if that initial like transfer that it does is off, I mean, you get some nightmare fuel images, just faces. It's disturbing. So definitely, beware, I guess, if you try it for yourself right before going to bed. So
Interesting. That's very inspiring.
Well, is it about that time?
I think it's about that time. We had a nice potpourri of things, like going around, seeing what everybody's been up to and catching up with some old friends. And I think, is this your second or third? It might be your third time, right? Because you had
third time, because I did a back to
the game. That's right.
Game. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right.
Man, catching up to you, Donovan.
I know, right? Vying for my seat.
Well,
one day I'll be in the back row of that.
That's right. There's so many seats available in the video stream we have here. Well,
so what are you guys geeking out about?
Oh man, I'm having trouble remembering what came out. It seems like.
So besides Metroid Dread, for me, I'm still riding that Dune train. Like, oof, like that was a movie, man. I have seen it at this point, I think 3 times.
Really?
And just
wow,
I don't know, just it's the universe and the art direction, and it's just so immersive. Where I got a similar feeling from Blade Runner 2049, and it's the same director, so I guess that's just his style. But man, his movies really draw me in and kind of make me lose myself in that world. So I think my next thing is I need to read Dune, because I guess I'm a big fan of the movie based on what I've seen, but I've actually never read the books. So that's next for me. But I'm still working on the Andy Weir book, Hail Mary. So the guy that wrote The Martian, that's like his follow-up book. I'm about halfway through that, so I have to resist the urge to put that down, even though it's very good, to start Dune. But I have to finish that book first, because I know that once I abandon something and lose focus and then go to something else, I'll never pick that other book up again. So.
I wanted to like Dune more than I did. I also hadn't read the books, but I just felt I got really distracted by things that caught my eye that they didn't explain enough at the time, and I would catch myself thinking about those previous scenes and miss something that was happening next, because a lot of it's kind of quick. but a lot of it's also kind of slow. So like the slower stuff where they're talking about all the houses, I'm like, oh, come on. And then they're doing, it just, I had a little bit of a pacing problem just from me processing things, what was happening. But I do want to go back and see it again because I've since read up on different things that are occurring, like, or in like quote unquote Easter eggs or references that you may have missed. I missed all the references because I don't know this, I didn't know the universe, right? So I'm seeing characters do things like their eyes roll back in their heads and other things. I'm thinking people are being possessed when they're not. I didn't understand the dream sequences, and now I've sort of gotten like a primer of like more of the language to know what to expect. And now I think I kind of want to go back and see it again.
For sure. I think that similar for me. So I mean, like the first thing for me it was visually impressive, but then going back and watching it a second time, also having read up on it, definitely a lot of things that I missed. And I think the second time through, like I realized it was a lot more dense of a movie than I had thought that it was the first time through. So yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a time investment, I guess, at 2.5 hours for the first, but might be worth another viewing if you're
okay. I'll do it.
I can't wait to see it.
You haven't seen it? Oh no. Okay, go see it.
No,
go see it if you can.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a while before I get to go out to the movie theater. So, but that's definitely one that the second it's on streaming, I am going to watch it.
You don't have HBO Max, huh?
Nope.
I guess what is it? It's on there for another like 2 weeks. I guess.
Oh, is it?
I think.
Okay.
And then they always pull the movie after the month, and I've noticed that's a bummer.
As far as me, what I'm geeking out about, just more Spider-Man content. Like I'm looking forward to the next trailer. There's so many different teasers or not teasers, but people talking about leaks and all these things that are happening. I'm not really sure. I'm really excited about the movie. Looking forward to seeing it. And Eternals, I want to see sometime soon because I'm seeing more previews for that and a little mixed reviews. The reviews haven't really been that great. I think a lot of them are
today, right?
Yeah, tomorrow or today, tomorrow. Yeah, this weekend. But I think it might, from what I read, some of the instances, it might be a lot of like review bombing going on, similar to like what they did for Captain Marvel. People that like didn't like what like the actress did some different things, and so they just sort of steamrolled negative reviews, and it didn't actually play out the way that the reviews said. So apparently that's getting more and more common for a lot of movies. So it seems like they're less and less reliable. So all the people that do video content, like on YouTube, like Chris Stuckman and like John Campia and a couple other guys, that they seem to like it. So I'm going to lean on their recommendation. I would go see it either way, but it sort of gets me ready to, I don't know. I'm interested in seeing what people say without spoilers, but I don't really let it take me too much.
Yeah, I am. I've been commuting a lot this last week since I started working, so I've been listening to more podcasts again. And friends of the show, Nicole and Turi from the Making Geeks from the Making Geeks podcast, because they've been on the podcast. They were on the Because We Make podcast. And it is a great interview with the two of them. It's really cool. Not because they mentioned me as being the reason why they started this whole YouTube thing, but it was still a great interview. It's like I don't have a lot of claims to fame like Wes does, because Wes is like the web of the making community that just connects everybody. But that said, I do feel responsible for the House of Timber. If you know her on Instagram, I was her first ever sign that she did as kind of I won. They were bored at a trade show one day, and they're like, "Tell me a story, and if we like your story, I'll make you a sign." So I told them a story, and they liked it, and she made me a sign, and that was the first sign she made. I blasted it all over Instagram. People contacted her because they saw my sign, and now that's who she is. She does these amazing, professional, fantastic signs, and that is her career now. And I was like, yeah, I was there for that. But Nicole and Turi, they built a map, and I was like, I need to share this with the world. And I shared it with the world. And they're like, hey, people like this. Maybe we should start a YouTube channel. And the rest is history.
Nice.
And now they're all awesome and famous and have this like super nice studio and all this kind of stuff. I'm so happy for them. And my face, it hurts because I'm smiling too much. But the interview with them was it was great. I loved it. I enjoyed it. So if you haven't heard it already, it's the Because We Make podcast. And they interview makers every week from our space and our community. And it's a long episode. It's almost 2 hours long. But that said, it's fantastic.
I second that.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely got to give that a listen for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of other people we'd like to appreciate, our patrons are at patreon.com/makinggeeks for their contributions every time we post an episode of this podcast. All of you guys are so awesome. Thank you so much, including our top patrons, Jordan, Square Splinter, and Clinton. You guys rock.
Now, as a group here at the Making Geeks Podcast, there are ways that you can get a hold of us. You can get a hold of us on the website, themakinggeekspodcast.com. We have various social medias, not that they're exactly active at the moment. But if you want to get a hold of us, there's a contact page on the website. If you have recommendations for the show, for the channel, things you want us to talk about, things you don't want us to talk about, whatever kind of feedback, you can find that on the website. Or speaking of reviews, why don't you give us a review on your favorite podcast player of choice? 5 stars would be fantastic. But if you want to contact us individually, Alex can be found on all the socials, apparently. It's all Super Make Something, no dashes, hyphens, periods, asterisks.
All Super Make Something except for Twitter, where there was a character limit. So it's Super Make SMTHNG on Twitter. But Super Make Something everywhere else.
And that is why I'm not on Twitter. Wes, you can find at Geeksmithing, and myself, you can find at Once Upon a Workbench.
Well, from all of us to all of you out there, we hope you have a fantastic week. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you so much for having me on. Talk to you guys soon.
See you,
We
man.
should do it again.